We're fired up.
Won't take no more.
We're fired up.
Won't take no more.
Fired up and won't take no more. That's what it's about. I want to thank our city workers who have been working on behalf of our city. I know you say that sometimes they don't come on time, but when they get there, you really are glad to see that fire truck, that police car. Ask me and others who are working for us, and particularly those who live in the city of Detroit and pay the same taxes that you pay in the city of Detroit. That's an important thing. I want to salute ASME for the fight that they have fought. They have put their money where their mouth is, and they have paid and paid and paid each court case and each level of support. We need to give them a hand. And I want to bring up a brother who has been part of that fight and represent ASME, Brother Ed McNeil. Going to give us an update on where we are with Public Act 4 and their action as well.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'd like to say that we need to be able to pay homage to 3 great council people who have refused to lay down. We need to do that. And the best way we can do that is we aren't sitting down right now, but we need to stand up for a minute. We need to stand up and give them a hand for the fight that they have done to fight on behalf of the citizens of the city of Detroit. Councilwoman Kenyatta, Councilwoman Brenda Brenda Jones, Joann Watson, as we go. I just want to say that this has been a long fight. But we know the fight is not over. We know that the fight has just begun. They believe that it's easy for them to drive up in here or roll up in here and take everything out and just roll out in the night. But we're here to let them know that we're watching, we're not sitting there only by, and we're going to keep control of what we have. Let me bring you up to some factual information that don't always get back to you.
Yeah, because the media's...
They said, let's do this consent deal. Now, before they did that, 33 unions had came together. 33 unions. That's the first time in the history of the city of Detroit that 33 unions came together to save the city of Detroit. And those 33 unions bargained together. And once they had completed the bargaining, those unions had put together a package that would take the city of Detroit into the black through 2015. Let me repeat that. Maybe you didn't hear what I said. But what they did was put together a package where the city of Detroit would have been in the black in 2015. So what I'm saying to you is, there was no need for a consent agreement. Now let me tell you why there's no need for a consent agreement. You heard over and over again from the administration and from the folks in Lansing, the governor's office, to say the city is going broke. And you heard that in April, when they wanted to get their way, they said the city was going broke.
That's right.
But then after they got their way, they were okay for another month. And then you heard in May, when they couldn't get what they wanted, the city was going broke again. And then when they got what they wanted, it was okay until June. And then they said on June the 30th, if we don't get what we want, the city is going broke. And now when they got it in June, guess what they said? We got to change our course. We have been saying it only takes 30 days for the city to get broke. This time we're going to push it a little bit farther out. They say now in October the city is going to get broke. Now that gives them time to try and put some of their things in the works. Now, what are some of those things that are costing you and I, the citizens of the city of Detroit? They said that you needed a 9-member advisory board.
That's right.
And they said you got to pay them $25,000 each, and you got to pay for their expenses. Now, the city's broke, remind you, but we got to give somebody 9 people $25,000 each. And if that wasn't enough, they said you need a CFO. And the CFO, you need to pay that person $220,000. And then they said, you know what? We got to have somebody else. We got to have a program manager. And that's $220,000. Now, mind you, if we go back to what they said initially, the city of Detroit was only $46 million in the hole. Now, if I'm $46 in the middle of the hole, and you keep adding this debt on me, how much am I in the hole? So, you see where I'm going with this thing. And now, since then, they said Annex B had to be implemented. And in Annex B, they just said 2 weeks ago, the city's got to set aside $28 million to implement Annex B. So now we broke now. But we got about, if I'm adding right, and maybe my math is a little fuzzy like this, but I think we're talking about another $34 million adding on to the $46 million. Now here's the big punchline. They said, we ain't give you no money. They said, you can do it on your own. They said, we don't have any money to send to Detroit, but it's your responsibility to pay for it. Now, that doesn't seem like common sense to me. You're going to help me out, but I'm all by myself. I'm standing here with nobody on the side of me, on the left side or even on the right side. They tell me to go on and fend for yourself. Well, guess what we can fend for ourselves? We can just get them the hell out of here. And we can do our own thing. Because we don't need them. We know how to take care of Detroit. And the only thing that they've done, and we've talked about that and hit a little bit about that, they've got emergency managers all over the state. But they're only in the black communities. So they need to think about that. And now in Detroit, they said we're not going to put an emergency manager in because we got 5 councilmen to agree to a consent agreement. Well, let me show you why there's no difference between emergency manager and a consent agreement. We had DPS, where they first brought in an emergency manager. All right? And we had Mr. Bobs in, we had him in the DPS, and then we brought our second emergency manager, Roy Roberts. Now, what you need to think about is the debt has increased. The debt has not decreased. And if you look about it, this is our second emergency manager in DPS. We got a third emergency in Pontiac. We got a second and a third emergency manager in Hamtramck. And so what we're saying is, it doesn't work. Now, the only thing that's working for it, and this is what you need to look close about it, because now it's happening in the city of Detroit. The only thing that they're doing is a pay-for-play scheme. Now, when I say it's a pay-for-play scheme, guess what's happening? Under this consent agreement, we had, and it was just talked about yesterday at council meeting, with the Eastern Market Corporation. They took over Eastern Market in 2009. They're supposed to be responsible for renovations along with what's going on. But what they've done is, they're farming everything out. And everything is getting vended out. Not to people who look like you and I, but to people that live in Howe, people that live in Shelby Township, people that live in Macomb County. Those are the people who get the contract. At the same time, they're laying off over 300 people in the health department, in workforce development, and in human rights. And then they took that director who they said could not run the department and had her form her own corporation. And she didn't form it by herself. She took the deputy director of the health in the state of Michigan. Now follow what I'm saying close. You got a director here in Detroit of one department. They hook up with a person that retired on a Friday, came to work for the private corporation on a Monday with no employees, only $23,000 in the bank, and they taking over a $61 million contract. I think there's a problem with that. And now it just came out yesterday, we saw, they have diverted $38,000 of city funds into the private corporation. But with the council have here today, those people said, oh no, you're not going to do that. They directed the law department to go into court and file a TRO to stop them from taking the city of Detroit's money and putting it into a private fund. That's what you got here. And see, so we want to make sure that we stay responsible. Now let's talk about Belle Isle for a minute. They would have you believe that all of the state of Michigan parks are so wonderful and so beautiful, and they're going to turn Belle Isle into the same thing. Well, if you've been to any state parks, raise your hand. If you've been to and seen some state parks, they don't look much different like Belle Isle. The only problem is that the state owns the park. The difference is they say we want Belle Isle because Belle Isle is a jewel. They've taken all the other jewels that we have. They're continually trying to take the rest of those jewels we got. On the chopping block, as they say on the food channel, you got the public light that they're moving, that they want to take public lighting and move it into an authority. They want to take transportation and they privatize part of that. Now they want to take Belle Isle. But if you talk to it, we're in a consent agreement. What does the consent agreement and putting the city back in financial help have to do with them taking Belle Isle? It has nothing to do with them taking and putting them back on the financial floor. What it is, it's all about a power grab. And I've been talking about this all along. And if you look at what they've been doing with CompuWare, they're talking about they're going to take over payroll. And so that's another 300-some people. So what you're talking about is a totality right now. They're eliminating all the people with their jobs in the city of Detroit and giving it to private concerns. Councilwoman Brenda Jones was just recently talking about this California group they want to bring in on the tour. They're going to bring them in from California. Let's think about that. We got all these folks right here, and they say we don't have competent people who can perform the services. Well, I think we all disagree with that. We know that we have competent people right among us that can put together anything. We have competent people right here in Belle Isle, the workers that work here every day, that if they were given the opportunity and given the tools to do their job, this island could be just as good as anything else. But they're too busy giving this island away to Roger Pinsky and Torrio Bugio, and they telling them that they can have it. They making sure that we don't control anything, because they want to make sure that we say, stay in your place. Well, we're sending out a message today that we're not staying in anybody's place but where we belong. And what we're going to do, we're going to rally not only today, but we're going to rally in the next few days and continue to rally until we take what belongs back to Detroiters, keep it right here in Detroit, and send those people back to Lansing where they belong, send the mayor back to Franklin where he belongs, and we're going to take our city back and do what we have to do. God bless all y'all.
He said some folks got to pack their bags. Oh, that mercy. We're getting ready to wrap up. We told you we didn't want to keep you long, but keep you strong. We within our hour because we started late, so it's a little over 1. I know some of you got to go back to work, and some of you have been put out of work. So you're going to be here with us for a few more minutes. Brother Greg Murray, I have to give this brother a minute or two because he came to the table time and time again. Him and others, a part of Health and Human Services, Mr. Cecily, Ebony, and others who came to the table to give council members information that we did not have, because things are happening underneath the rug and behind closed doors, and they had the information and they brought it to the table, and once we got it, we were able to do something with it. So I want to give him a few minutes to talk about what has happened with the Health and Human Services Department. A grant-funded department, y'all. We giving money that is coming from the federal government, not your tax dollars from the city, not general fund money, but federal money for. I'll let him talk about it.
Thank you very much. You've done a pretty good job of that. You do need to know that we have.
Can't hear you. Come on.
You need to know that we have a thief in the mayor's office.
That's right.
A couple of days ago, I called him Dave Bain.
That's right.
The reason why I called him Dave Bain is there are striking similarities to what Mitt Romney used to do with companies and what Dave Bain is doing with this city. What does Bain Capital do? They identify a targeted entity.
That's right.
They take it over. They do an assessment of all of the divisions, determine what their wealth is. Once they've done that, they confuse the employees.
That's right.
They fire the employees, they lay off the employees, they bust the unions, they find someone to give the assets within that division to, they strip it of all its wealth, and then they walk away. Now you tell me what's different between Bain Capital and how they conducted themselves and Dave Bain and how he's conducting himself here now. There is no difference. We have 3 federally funded departments, as Brother Kenyatta said, that the majority, 98% of that money comes from the federal government. That's your tax dollars coming back to you.
That's right.
We never get a full 100% return on our tax dollars, so what we get, we ought to keep.
That's right.
But what this man has decided to do, if he can't finagle it, if he can't transfer it, if he can't steal it, then he don't want it. So how in the world does the city of Detroit, it's the only city in the history of the Head Start program to refuse Head Start money? How do you turn your back on people who have been coming to Herman Kiefer for years for services, and then you want to contract it out to some bogus, because it's bogus. They don't even have their 501c3 yet, but they're already siphoning money, City of Detroit money, into their bank accounts. How did you take workforce development? I'm old enough to remember Willie Walker and what he used to do with employment and training. That man brought money in and he got Detroiters employed. Pamela Moore, the current workforce development department, is nothing but a shell now, a ghost, because they want to farm it out, cut it up, and farm it out, doing the Bain thing all over again.
But she'll get paid.
But there are provisions in the charter that say you're not supposed to do this alone on your own, Mr. Bain. You don't have the authority to do that. So right now we're tied up in courts on a number of different levels. If we can ever get past the Michigan Court of Appeals, we might find some justice somewhere, because they're steadily knocking it down as we go along. But the point that I wanted to make to you is that these are our departments too. These two should be considered to be jewels because they provide direct services to Detroiters. We don't need to let Belle Isle go, and we ought not let those departments go, because for many people, they're the last resort. And for a man to show such carelessness, such hard-heartedness, he and his handlers from Lansing and beyond, who have never, probably ever, gone down on Mac or John R. or over on Stanford or down Grand River near West Grand Boulevard and seen the plight of our people. These people are so far removed This is not in their universe. And so what I say to you is that these departments are just as vital as any other department. You waiting when they try to get rid of planning and development. They need to fire all those managers. The operative word in mismanagement is management. And we all know that it's not the workers screwing all of this up. It's managers, the same people that he's keeping and promoting and giving merit raises to, and cars and gasoline and the rest of that stuff. So I say to you, please, don't let them steal, dismantle, and destroy these departments, because they know that through these departments, our people are strengthened.
That's right.
This is not a mistake. Just like they're trying to suppress our vote, they took away your right to elected representation with this consent agreement. They would like to take away from you the tools that you could use to strengthen and stabilize yourself so that you can focus on making your community a better community. Don't let them steal these departments. And so I say to you all, we know this is not the end of this. As Brother said, we're going to have more rallies, more demonstrations, more activities to educate and inform. And I just want to say one more thing, and I'm gone. Quit reading the free press. Don't buy the printed version. Quit reading the Detroit News. Buying the printed version of that paper, you are helping to subsidize friends of the enemy. That's right. Be smart in what you do and how you respond. And I say to you all, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Once again, as we wrap it on down, there are a number of organizations here that you need to get with. So if you don't have to leave, stay around, communicate with them so that you get involved. We don't talk strategy out public, y'all. So don't think we were going to give any orders out here, and they're going to give any orders out here, so it'll be broadcast tonight and written about. You don't talk strategy out public, but you mobilize your troops so that they go back with the individuals. No consent? Oh, I thought they were in the house. Where's no consent?
Right here.
Yeah, all right, no consent.
No Detroit.
Keep the vote.
No takeover.
Keep the vote.
No takeover.
Keep the vote.
No takeover.
Whose part?
Our part.
Whose part?
Our part.
That's right, the people's part. Doesn't belong to the state. One more speaker that we had invited out. He's here late. Usually we don't let him come in late. But as we said earlier, on time, Southside time, Reverend Charles William, part of the National Action Network. Whose city? Whose city? Whose city? Whose city? Whose part? Whose part? Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to fight? No justice? No justice? No justice? I can't hear you over there. No justice? No justice? Let me hear you say yeah. All right, all right. State of Michigan wants to take over Belle Isle. They want to take over Detroit.
They doing it.
If we don't stand up, we're going to get knocked over. We'll come back next week and we'll still be laying there. We got to get up. We got to stand up. We cannot take this lying down. They expect us to just have small crowds. They expect us to just have a few people who care. But we cannot allow them to take our part, and we cannot allow them to take our city. They did it in Benton Harbor. They doing it in Flint. But we got to send a message across the world to let them know they trying the wrong folk right here in the city of Detroit. I wonder how many of you are willing to bring some folk to stay on this Belle Isle if we got to. How many of you ready to pop up some tents? And we'll step right here on this park
until the governor decides to leave us alone. We need some folk who are willing to stand up and stand out. Now here's the other part. We got direct action, but here's the other part. How many of you know we got to vote? How many of you know we got to vote? We must make sure that in 2012 we put the right people in office to represent our interests. We must make sure that in the mayoral race in 2013 and the city council race in 2013 that we put the right people in place to represent our interests. Not the interests of CompuWare, not the interests of Quicken Loans, not the interests of just business, but the interests of the people who stay on Mac, the interests of the people who stay on Myers and Wyoming, the interests of the people that stay here in the city of Detroit. 2014, we got to get rid of this governor. And see, y'all want to march and protest, but you want to talk about getting to the polls. In 2014, you ought to be acting crazy when I say that. In 2014, we have to get rid of this governor. So we got work to do these next 3 years. And so today is the start. Today is the continuation of a movement led by Joann Watson against EFM. Today is the continuation of a movement led by Reverend Bullock and Reverend Chapman. Today is the continuation of a movement led by those of Free Detroit. But that continuation of the movement must take us to the ballot box immediately. And so I want to let you know, Saturday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be at King Solomon. Now what we're doing, there are thousands of people that are planning to come into the city of Detroit. Did you know this? It sounds like nobody knew this. Thousands of people. They're going to be at the polls, intimidating folk from vote. So we're going to have a training on Saturday. We want you to be there at the training. We must continue this movement past our protest to ballot box. Nobody said nothing. I guess I must be in the wrong place. Protest to ballot box. When we protest and we make it to the ballot box, we win. When we protest and we don't go to the ballot box, we just gonna keep on protesting. At some point, we got to make it from protest to ballot box. Because when we stand up, when we fight, y'all sound like y'all ready to lose. When we fight, we fight. When we fight.
All right. We'll talk about it, but you know, because it'll be taken out of context, but Malcolm had something to say about that ballot box. I'll leave it alone. Look, can I get you all to stand up? Stand up. Stand up, Detroit. I know she's not here, but I want you all to send a message of support to your corporation counsel, Sister Crystal Crennington. Give her a hand. Whether you like it or not, you approved the charter and you gave her responsibility, even though she said it was problems in the beginning, but she took your orders and she enforced it. And so we want to stand with her. She is the corporation counsel, and we put language in there that said that no one can get rid of her unless all of us agree to it. I need you to come around. We're getting ready to close this out, y'all. We got to do it our way. Let's form a circle. Let's form a circle. Let's close it out. Close it in. Just a circle here. we can just back this up a little bit. I want the people in here. All right. Hold on to this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Maybe they know about that.
All right. Let's wrap it up. Can we just quiet? We get ready to close it out in a traditional manner. We get ready to close it out. And we get ready to close it out in a traditional manner.
I hold my hand, ain't nobody else.
Tuesday at 10, special meeting for the city council. Tuesday at 10.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a meeting Tuesday at 10 at City Council. That's a public announcement, a special session to discuss the ballot issue as it relates to police and fire, whether or not that should be on the ballot. Y'all saying no. And then we also discussing the health department and the is it Health and Human Services? Workforce Development, correct. So we're discussing all of that on Tuesday as well. We're going to close this out in libations. Those of you who don't know what libations is, I don't have a lot of time to tell you. It's not voodoo or hoodoo, it's we do, we just forgot how to do it. It's about our culture. You know, they talk about what happened in Hades. And what happened in Hades is that they stopped praying to other folks' gods. They stopped praying to an image that didn't look like them and began to deal with an image that looked like them. And they got rid of other folks' spirits and other folks' images and called upon their own. And so if you ain't with that, you may want to step out the circle now. But I come to pour libations first to Almighty God. We know there are many names. Some say Allah, some say Oludumare, some say Yahweh, some say Jesus the Christ. But there is a spirit that you call upon that you know that woke you up this morning. That's greater than anybody at the State House or the City House or the National House, almost Black House. There's a power that's greater than all of that. And so we give praise to Almighty God. We thank God for this day, this beautiful day. We thank God for this island. We thank God for our city, for our breath, for our life. We say inside. Inside means to drink, to be a part. It's also like amen. Amen, amen. It's all about us. It's all about the culture. And so we give praise to our ancestors. We understand we are not just because we are because many others came before us. And we stand on their shoulders. We give praise this today to Almighty Big Daddy, who knew that he was the father of this city before he became the father of Junior. We're talking about Coleman Alexander Young. We say inside. We pour libations to the mother of this city, Sister Irma Henderson. We pour libations, we say, inside. We pour libations to all of those great warriors who we need today. We call upon Yah Ashanti while we say, inside. To Harriet Tubman, we say, inside. To Nat Turner, we say, inside. To Bismarck Bissey, we say, inside. To Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz, we say, inside. To Martin Luther King, we say, inside. To the Honorable Marcus Garvey, we say, inside. To all of those great ones, to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we say, inside. To all of the countless millions of African men, women, and children, and others who gave their lives, who fought for our people so that we may live on our feet and not on our knees. We pour libations to all of them, we say inside. To the 250 million Africans whose bleached bones are in the Atlantic Ocean who did not get here, but we got here as a result of them, so we remember them, and their spirit is in us, we say inside. To our elders, those who are represented here today and those who are not here, we thank you for your blood, your sweat, and your tears. We thank you for all of your work and all that you do, Mother Helen Moore and others. We thank you for your love, your commitment, and your dedication. We say inside. To our babies who are coming up and wondering what's wrong. Wondering, they're going around with their hats on backwards, don't know if they're going or coming. Their pants sagging because they're lagging and we're lagging. We pour libations that they may see a brighter day, that they may see new knowledge, new wisdom, and new courage. We say inside. To all of you, we say go in peace and understand that if there's no justice, there can be none. Inside. Thank you very much.
Others are against everything related to the consent agreement.
And I think that that's the kind of talk that have those guys talking about wanting to go get their pistols. And the reason I say that is because how am I obstructionist when I'm simply saying we've been here going through the problems we've been going through by ourselves. Even when you had a Democratic governor, you still didn't get the kind of support that you needed. Definitely didn't get it under England. And so the city has been sort of a stepchild to the state. And we've not gotten the support. And so you let the city flounder and you put people in charge who have not done the job, who have mismanaged the city, and now the city is on its back and you say, well, come on, we're going to step on you and we're going to take control. And so I don't think that's an obstructionist. I think it's simply saying, hey, there's a better way of doing that, and I'm definitely for better managers being in charge and being in control, and I think the people will get that. I think they get the message now. I think they know that some of the people that they've elected both as mayor and city council are not the right type of people that are going to address the issue. And it's up to the people to change that guard, not Lansing to change that guard. They get elected to office and serve their term, so should the people in the city of Detroit, not just a token term. And that's what you have now, a token city council and a token mayor.
Councilman Kenyatta, the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy just got $44 million in federal and state funding for the east side of the river with no strings attached. But the state is insisting that it has to control Belle Isle before...
and the state doesn't control the Riverfront Conservancy, even with the money that they're putting out there. They're not asking for control of the riverfront. And so now they have control, now they have money for demolition. Before, the mayor and the city council said, hey, we need help to tear some of these buildings down. Now all of a sudden, you got money to tear the buildings down, and you got money for Belle Isle, but we must control it in order to provide those resources. So no, I'm not accepting that kind of partnership. That's not partnership.
Is there going to be further action taken? I know Councilwoman Watson had mentioned about trying to get a temporary restraining order against the takeover of Belle Isle.
Yeah, we've asked for the research and analysis to, and the law department to weigh in on just that.
Okay.
So we're looking for that information now to come back to council.
A picture, and it goes right to the heart of democracy.
Do you think that you learned anything new today with what the council members were speaking of? That's something that you learned today, or were you more so here for support?
I was here for support. A lot of the things that they spoke to I was aware of because I do serve the Honorable Councilwoman Joann Watson. So I was aware of the political and budgetary issues involved. What Detroiters have to be mindful of is that we sit on revenue-generating resources. Our public lighting, Belle Isle, you're looking at even in terms of where we're strategically located. There are many things that we should be doing with our water. Our water could be an energy source that we actually could sell revenue back to the grid. So we're not at a loss for ideas. We're not at a loss in terms of assets. We're at a loss for will at the highest political levels to do what's in the best interest of Detroiters. So anytime you have the governor telling us that he just cares about Detroit, but he continues to dismantle democracy, we don't believe that.
Okay. And how do you think the state's potential controlling of Belle Isle will affect its citizens?
What will happen to Detroiters is that we'll lose the right, but we'll get the bill. The state will be able to, if we allow this, and that's the part that citizens must understand, we still have the ability to control our own destiny if we understand the powers with the people. The powers with the people. It's not with Lansing, it's not with the mayor, it's not with the governor, it's with us, the people. And so we'll take back our power if we'll begin to organize and mobilize our communities, if we'll begin to educate and teach our children about what this fight really entails. This is about disconnecting the most important people in the community, the least of them, from their access to the table. And so we've got to decide what our new day is going to be. And I think that that day started today. I think a day is a new beginning.
Now, just a moment ago, you touched on the resources that Detroit could call upon with the water and with the lighting. Can you expand on that a little bit for me?
Yes. If you look at our water source, 20% of the world's freshest water, the world, I didn't say the nation or the state, the world's freshest water is right here connected to the Detroit River. If you look at in terms of the PLD has the capacity, if we would consider looking at a process, it only would take us $300 million to totally renovate the lighting system of the city of Detroit. The question people must ask, why are we paying DTE $154 million to keep us in the dark? When we could retrofit half of the city, and in 2 years, if we go to a solar system, we could actually transition the rest of the city and be debt-free and actually being able to generate resources that would put us in a revenue-generating position. There's some real clear answers. If you look at what Councilmember Joann Watson has proposed, right now we are paying over $300 million in healthcare costs for our employees when we have 5 competing companies that are willing to do the same service for 1/3 of that amount. Some of these things aren't rocket science. It's just got to be the will to get it done.
Can you think of any benefit that would come from the state taking over operations of Belle Isle?
I can't think of one, but I can tell you what the state can do. They can pay what they owe. They can give us the $224 million plus that they owe the citizens of Detroit in revenue sharing. If they pay that, then we can be on our way and we can begin the rebuilding process of our city.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, Monica.
Thank you.
And let the State House and the City Mayor's office run over us, and we don't stand up and fight. God bless you, beloved.
All right. Reverend Chapman, once again, fired up. Oh, y'all ain't fired up yet. Fired up. Won't take no more. We're